Welcome to this evening's live. And tonight we will be talking about three questions that you need to be asking and answering to get a 90-day brand reset. So you have been building your brand. You're maybe in that DIY stage. You're doing a lot of things on your own. We're going to be talking about what are the three questions you need to be answering in order to reset your brand and move you on this trajectory of growth, seeing some amount of traction and progress. So on Saturday, I went through a really good session, was really, really good, if I should say so myself, where I really shared some insights on, just building your brand from scratch. What are the foundational things that you need to have in place? So went through that session, and if you missed it, you definitely need to check it out. And it's currently on my YouTube page. So go and check it out. It's the brand building roadmap, what every woman entrepreneur needs to know before she posts another piece of content. But tonight, we're going into the 90-day brand reset. And these are the three questions to help you to fix your brand within 3 days. So answer these questions honestly, and your brand will never feel stuck again. That's a very big promise, but it's really those grounding questions that you really need to be asking yourself for real, like to help you to put it on that path of really understanding what your brand is about and really creating content or showing up in a way that resonates with your audience. So that's what we're going to be talking about tonight. All right, so let's talk some big things, right? So one of the things that I have personally observed in my brand as I've built is that sometimes we don't ask the right questions. That is the truth. We don't ask the right question. Everyone tells you what to do. No one asks you the right questions first. And oftentimes when you get bad advice, just like in life, when you get bad advice, you get poor outcomes, right? And one of the bad advice that can lead to, or what bad advice can lead to, I should say, is that your brand looks okay, but it doesn't connect with anyone. So that's why I try not to spend so much time or just trying to focus only on nice colors, but really understanding the depth behind your brand. Right. Another thing that bad advice leads to is constant rebranding. And I know some women often feels like, boy, I need to have this new logo and new colors. And listen, bad advice leads to constant rebranding. And then another thing is like posting consistently, but wondering why you don't have clients. So this is something that I've experienced in my own journey of building a brand. Like really knowing that I have a nice, polished, everything look good, but no clients. I've been there. And it's not just bad advice, but just not really taking, but not taking the time to really assess and answer these three questions that I'll be touching on tonight. And then another thing is having just too broad of a message can be a big issue. So we're going to be talking about that tonight. And of course, we're jumping in to first. The first thing we're going to be talking about, or the first question that you really need to be answering is, who are you really for? Like, so when you build this brand, when you first came up with this idea for your brand, I'm sure you were excited. Yeah, let's talk about it a little bit. I'm sure when you came up with this idea for your brand, you were really excited. You're like, listen, this is a great idea. You probably spent hours researching and, talking to people. What do you think about me creating this thing? What do you think about me building this brand? And trust me, we spend a lot of time doing that sometimes. But the question is, who are you creating it for? So one of the things I like to share, right? A quick story is that when I was building one of my first brands for women to women, is that I was really excited about just building and pouring in and putting in all the work. But I was trying to target too broad of an audience. And so because I was trying to target too broad of an audience, what happened was that I was trying to reach everyone. Of course, persons were connecting within that target group, but not specifically the people who need it. And sometimes when we're building a brand, sometimes when we're doing the thing, is that we are too broad, trying to target everyone. And the worst answer you can give when someone asks, who is this for? Right? You're building this wellness brand. You're creating this consulting service. You're a speaker. You are, whatever that career or brand path or what the brand you're building. Who is it for? Everyone. No, that's like literally setting up yourself for like disaster, because the truth is, when you're trying to target everyone, you end up having such a broad generic message. So, not everyone needs your help. That's a big fact. Just like in life, not everyone needs your help. Not every woman entrepreneur. So, you need to be very specific. So, when you are asking yourself this question, I want you to get a pen and paper out, by the way, right? So while you're doing this, grab a pen, grab a piece of paper or a notebook, that's fine. Or if you want to, just drop it in the chat and tell me, who are you creating your brand for? Who is it for? Who is that one person? And I like to always say, think about the one person in mind. So now that I'm doing this live, I am thinking about this one person in mind who will be watching this. And that one person is someone who is building a brand from scratch. You're doing it all alone, on your own. You don't have guidance. You don't have a clear roadmap. You might have friends on the sideline cheering you on. Yeah, girl, you can do this. But, or yes, you can do this, but you don't have a clear roadmap because you're not actually walking with someone who has done it before, right? And because you want someone who has done it before, you're actually like watching this live, right? Because you want that guidance, because you want that mentorship, because you want that support or coaching or whatever it is, you're watching at this live, right? Your desire is to have that, right? So you need to have a very clear path, right? So who are you really creating it for? What do you do, or who, I should say, you do your best work for, right? And the truth is, if you describe yourself as multifaceted or multiple potentialite, you might be serving different persons, but not every single piece of content will speak broadly to every single person, right? So if, for instance, based on the brand you're building, you are targeting parents, but also educators, that means your messaging won't connect with both parents and educators in the same message. Maybe what will happen is that you will create a message that connects specifically to the parents, then you create another message that speaks specifically to the educator. So you need to know, one, who you do your best work for, and then who leads your sessions transform. That's a big part of building your brand. When they get to work with you, how do they leave? What is that impression you leave on them? And what do you think about when you're creating content? That's a big thing. So even me doing this live, one of the things I'm thinking about is, well, I am creating this for someone who can watch this video. When you leave this video, or even while you're watching this video, you can do the quick exercises and get some amount of clarification at the end. So those are some things I want you to bear in mind as you're building. So what a lot of this is the who. The big part of this part is the who. And so you need to look at also, who would you work with for free if you had to, right? Who would you work with for free if you had to? So ask this question, and this will help you to gain some clarity. So here's a quick exercise, and I'd love for you to, engage, like comment, chat. Here is it. Complete this sentence. I do my best work with, type in the person name, or type, not the person name, type in the type of person, sorry, who is struggling with a specific problem and who wants a specific outcome. So if you are on Instagram, one of the things that you'll see very often in the bio is that persons will say, I help women entrepreneurs who struggle with self-confidence to overcome their struggle of public speaking, right? Or who wants to be better at public speaking. So you need to be very specific. So when you are vague about who you serve, your content will be vague. When you are vague about who you serve, your offers will be vague, your brand will be vague. And the truth is, your messaging won't hit the same way. But when you're very specific, your message will directly connect with who you're serving. Your content creation process gets really easier, to be honest. So me, like, creating the content around, just building your brand foundation, it gets easier. It is much easier for me because it is very specific, and the right people start recognizing and seeing themselves in your work. So this is the exercise you have to do. Comment below, or just grab your notebook, grab a pen, and just do the exercise while you're watching. So if you're watching the replay, this is a perfect exercise for you. If you're watching live, of course, this is a perfect exercise for you. Now let's talk about the second question that you want to be known for, or to be asking. The second that you want question you want to be asking is, what do you want to be known for? This is a big one because this kind of ties in with positioning and awareness and with the visibility part of building your brand. So one of the things that I am commonly known for on YouTube or just in general is that, oh, I am very good with Canva. I know to utilize the tool. I teach Canva through trainings, team trainings, right? So that is a very popular thing I am known for. I'm known for other things, but like in the YouTube space and over the last, I would say 4 or 5 years, I have been really known for being well versed or an expert in Canva, right? And that is because that is what I wanted persons to know. That is because that's how I position myself. And at any moment I can shift, and it's the same for you. So this is the question I want you to answer. What do you want to be known for based on how you're going to show up, based on the brand you're building, right? So it's not about what you do, what do people feel and remember. So that's the important part. I was talking a little bit more about the knowledge aspect of what I'm known for, but an important part is how you feel and how you want people to remember you. So one of the things is that I want to be known for someone who leads people feeling more confident in their abilities. So whether it's learning something new, whether it's building a brand, whether it's learning how to utilize Canva better as a tool, whether it's being more confident with showing up on camera, I want the people who work with me or who engage with my content to feel more confident. So here's a quick 3-word exercise, right? So the 3 words, think about 3 words you want people to remember you for. Is it creative? Is it warm? Is it engaging? Is it with someone with a sense of humor? And then based on these 3 words, I want you to go back to your content. If you have already been in the content creation, go back to your content and look, does my last 5 posts or 3 posts connect with how I want to show up? Does it connect with how I want persons to feel, right? So a lot of the content I create, I mentioned, I want persons to feel more confident. So what I do, because I want persons to feel more confident when they engage with my content, is that I show them my own journey of transformation. I shared it there. I share my audience, I should say, my own journey of being behind the scenes, afraid to speak up, someone who is shy, someone who is introverted. But I show you like how I use the digital space, how I use my knowledge, how I use my skills, and how I stepped outside of my comfort zone and challenge fear to actually start showing up and to grow in my business and in my brand. So those are some things. I would say this is a practical example of the words that you want to utilize, or the feeling you want persons to have, and creating content around that. So in the comments, I'd love for you to share, what are your 3 words? What are your 3 words that you want people to remember you for? Right? Drop it in the comments. I'd love to hear. And yeah, let's chat some more. All right. So let's talk a little bit more as we touch on this question, right? So your brand reputation is being built whether you're intentional about it or not. So whether you show consistently or inconsistently, yeah, whether you talk about one main thing or you talk about 100 things, your brand reputation is being built. So people will say you're the person for X, right? So someone might say, well, I know Mary for X. And you'll be like, if you're Mary, right? You'll be like, but I don't want people to know me for that. So if you don't want someone to know you for a particular thing, that means you need to shift, like positioning. You need to go back to the drawing board, I would say, and think about who you're serving, and come back to this question and say, what do I want to be known for? And be very intentional about how you're showing up, right? And the other thing is that your content needs to feel recognizable. So whoever you're building for, whatever you want to be known for, your content needs to feel recognizable, right? And people aren't sure exactly what to do or who you help when you're not very clear on what you want to be known for. All right. And so oftentimes your content will feel a bit scattered. So the goal is to be clear, be consistent, so people will know your brand before they even see your name. Right. So we can think about some of our favorite brands, and once you see them in your timeline without even like knowing which brand posted, you're like, yeah, this is the brand, right? Whether it's just from the brand personality to their messaging to just their creativeness. Like there's a particular brand that I really love online, And I don't even sometimes have to see who posts the type of video. I just start seeing all the really creative work being done, and I'm like, okay, instantly, yeah, this is this person. So that's the type of feeling, that's the type of impact and impression you want to leave on persons. All right, so question 3. Here's a third question that you should be asking and be able to answer that will help you to put your brand on a path of reset and position and just really help you to build a solid foundation so that when you start growing, you don't feel like, oh, I know I'm growing, but I still feel stuck. I'm not sure what to do. So this question is, why does your work and what you do matter to people you serve? So this question has a lot to do with your why. If you have been following my content, there's a big thing for me. I always talk about you need to know your why. You need to know your why. For anything that you're doing, you have to know why. Why would you keep showing up on social media, posting all the time, even if engagement is low? Are you showing up all the time if this thing is not working? Why do you keep going back? Why do you keep building and refining? Right? You need to know your why. Why do you target or create this brand for this specific person? Is it inspired by your own story? Is it inspired by just observation, studies, what it is? So you need to know your why. And it's not about you sometimes, meaning it's not centered around, oh, I want to be famous. I want to be making millions of dollars. It's really about the transformation that you'll create in the lives for the person you are serving. So I want you to ask yourself, what changes in someone's life? What is a change in someone's life after I start working with them, right? What is a problem that stays unsolved if you don't show up? And this is a big part. If you decide not to go much further with your brand, what stays unsolved for that person who quite possibly needs you? Why are you the one who is meant to solve this? This is a big part because, again, while it's not centered around you, a lot of your brand, especially the why, is quite possibly connected to your story. Did you make a mistake? Was there like a transformation that happened in your life and you want to share or create a brand that serve an audience similar to you when you're going through that journey of transformation? And then, of course, what would your ideal client say to you after you have worked to get together with them? So I work a lot with women entrepreneurs who are building their brands, who oftentimes come to me because they want beautiful designs. But when they come to me, I'm like, the truth is you don't really need nice designs only. You need to be on camera. And they were like, Carey, really? And I'm like, yeah, you need to be focusing on camera. You need to be focusing on showing up more authentically. So I have to always say, what does your brand or how does the people you serve, how does it matter in all of this? Those are some hard questions. They seem simple, but they're also very hard questions that you sometimes have to sit with, right? And so your brand clarity formula is, who do you serve, which focuses on your niche and your audience clarity. In question 2, what are you known for? So that is your reputation, that is your positioning. Number 2, specific, has a lot to do with positioning, because if you want to be known for something, of course, you have to be creating more in a way so people will know, okay, this is what this person is known for. And in question 3, why does your work matter? This is your purpose, this is your why, this is why you keep showing up, this is why you keep serving this audience, even if you haven't reached the target goal or haven't reached a milestone that you're working towards. So I want you to answer all these 3 questions honestly. I want you to get your notebook, get your pen, do the work. And of course, I'd love for you to share, so you can come back, drop it in the comments and let me know. I'd love to hear. So when you answer these questions and you start building from them, here's what happens. Your content gets easier to create because you know what they want, right? You know what they want, and you know what to say, right? So, and that's the thing that you have to be very clear on, right? Because when you start answering these questions, when you're clear on what the answers for these questions, there's a lot of shift and changes that you'll see happen right before your eyes. Your audience will start recognizing you before they even say your name, right? So think about that brand, that when you see them on YouTube, you're like, yeah, this is X content. Because 1, you see the thumbnail. 2, you see the way how they write the title, right? On Instagram is the same thing. You see that post, you see that video before you even say the name, see the name, sorry, you know, okay, this is the brand. So that is the type of impact that you want to have and you can have when you answer these questions. And then the right people start reaching out to you because your messaging resonates with them. So I want to share a quick story before we wrap. So recently, I have just been sharing more about my brand journey, like my brand building journey. And I don't think a lot of persons know. Like they'll probably meet me at different points throughout my life, you know, or throughout my journey, and they know me for one thing, and then they realize, okay, I know Carey-Lee for another thing. But some persons have never heard that I've built 3 successful brands from scratch. So recently, I shared that on my Instagram, just sharing that story. And I am telling you, I want to say the messages that I've received since I have done that has just been so amazing. And I'm sharing my screen because I wanted to see what exactly I'm talking about. All right, so this is a post that I made on Instagram. I said, well, I built 3 successful brands from scratch and I never gave myself credit for it until now. So this is a message that connects with someone who wants to build a brand, who is possibly building a brand from scratch. And that simply means what I've said already connects with them, especially the part where I said I've never given myself enough credit, because it quite possibly it's connected with a woman who sometimes don't give herself enough credit for the work she's doing. And so I went through just sharing the journey of how I built these brands at different points, what was the through line, how was I showing up, and a big part of this carousel that I did was that I built these 3 successful brands from scratch. But the truth is, I built them with not a big budget, without a team. And of course, it even led to some amount of overwhelm and burnout. And, you know, I also just touched on the whole fact that I had to use money from my salary to invest in my brand. I had to start side hustles, or use money from my side hustles in order to invest in my brand. And I spent a lot of years isolated doing it all alone. So these are the type of messaging that resonated with my audience and the person I'm targeting. And so that eventually opened the door of just persons wanting to share more, like, wow, Carey, you did all of this. And I'm like, yeah. So you have to think about it this way, because when you're clear on who your audience is, then this messaging works very well. Not only just the messaging, but you understand how to better communicate. And a big part of this message too was like, I built this for her, meaning I built these 3 brands, right? But I was also talking about an offer that I have coming up, which is a brand sprint. I'm like, I built this brand sprint for women who have been where I was, building a brand on your own, without support, without a big budget, without a lot of resources. And I said, I'm creating this for a woman like her. So I shared that I see myself in you because I have been there, right? So that type of messaging really works. And it's not like a tactic kind of thing. It's just really coming from an authentic place. So that's another thing too. When you understand who your audience is, when you know who you're serving, of course, that helps significantly. So, you know, the right people start reaching out and it connects. And of course, your brand starts feeling more like a business asset and not a source of stress, because the worst part about building a business is that sometimes it can feel like stress and overwhelm, especially if you're not clear on these questions. All right, so answering these 3 questions are really just the beginning. And I have a brand sprint that is coming up. And this brand sprint is where we will spend 5 days together. And on day 1, I help you to gain some clarity on your brand. Who do you serve? What are you doing? And why? So those are similar to what we touched on tonight. The 3 questions is just the beginning. So we'll start with clarity. Day 2, we do touch on visual identity. What is it? Who are you? How do you show up in terms of from an image standpoint? Day 3, we'll look at a system for creating consistent content, because the truth is you can't build a foundation and just sit back. You have to start showing up, but you need a system to support you. You need to go back and watch day one, you need to go back and watch day one, which I would say this content that I created on brand building roadmap, because I laid out a roadmap that helps you to identify how you should be building your brand, especially the foundation, right? So on day 5, I'll touch on content plan you can follow, and of course a 90-day visibility roadmap. And if you have been following me on YouTube, then you'd also realize that I've been talking a lot about visibility. I have a visibility roadmap series going on right now, which is pretty good, getting some decent responses, getting some good engagement. Persons like messaging me like, hey, I love this that you're doing, because what I'm doing through that is sharing my journey of how I've gained visibility, even without going viral, even without a large following. So this is something that I am, happy to share more of. And so the Build Your Brand is a live session, 5 days. It's a sprint. It starts March 10 and it's on the 14th, and it's live on YouTube. Early bird cost or investment, I should say, is 77 USD. The regular price goes up after tomorrow, which is 97 USD. Right? And I want you to start with those 3 questions and to build from there. The link is in my description to learn more about this brand sprint. I'm going again live tomorrow. Tomorrow, I'll be touching on the story. Tomorrow, I'm sharing more of the story behind how I built 3 successful brands. And I'm going into the first brand I built, which was when I was fresh out of university. The second brand that I built was right after the first one. And then, of course, this brand that I've built, which is Carey Digital. I'll share some real stories about like what I did, what worked, what didn't work, what was challenging, and of course some wins, because I did get a lot of wins, right? I did get a lot of wins, but there was just a lot that I was doing on my own, and I really wish that if I had the support, if I had the roadmap, then it would be so much better. So thank you for watching this live. Thank you for being here with me. If you're watching the replay, give me a thumbs up. Give me a thumbs up, engage, share this video with someone who really, they're building, this woman entrepreneur, she's building her brand. She lacks some amount of clarity. She wants brand clarity, and these 3 questions can help her to get started. I'm also going to link the Instagram post that I mentioned before, which is about my story of building those 3 successful brands. But really, come back tomorrow for this story on how I built 3 successful brands from scratch. And I'm talking about not just from an exposure standpoint, but getting paid opportunities, partnerships, collaborations, sponsorships, international exposure, being invited to speak at events, and international travel, so many things. So tomorrow we're just going to chat. I really hope you come tomorrow with your questions, because it's going to be a really good one. So thank you for being here. And of course, if you really found this content valuable, if you like this video, give it a thumbs up and share it with someone who needs it.